Greetings, Legionnaires, and welcome to the Wrestle Legion Weekly Podcast with myself, Nick the Geek, and I'm joined today by my partner in crime, the yin to my yang, the Marty to my Sean. I am joined today by Sai. Sai, how are you, sir?
No, I'm the Sean, dude. I'm the Sean. I was good, but I ain't no Marty. No. No, I'm great, mate. I'm great, but there's only two of us this week.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Andy, the pillar of support, the concrete that is our foundations, he's unfortunately have man flu. We wish him the best. We hope him all the best, and he'll be back with us next week with any luck. And
yeah, we'll see, mate.
Hello, David. Good evening good evening from us, David, but good afternoon to you, I suppose.
How you doing, David? Yeah, look at that. Look, we're not even 60 seconds on the air, and I've had two backhanded insults already. What did I do?
Well, it's just the way the world works, I'm afraid, Simon. Right, but we've got quite a lot to talk about this week. First off, you saw the thumbnail, people. Very big news as far as I'm concerned. Ground-shaking possible jump. Like, I know he has his detractors and he has his fans, but Kenny Omega is potentially interested in leaving AEW. We don't know how much confirmed this is, but he has openly said he is open to offers from WWE. Now, this, in my opinion, Si, would be an absolute seismic shift between AEW and WWE. This would be like, because just on the assumption that Kenny goes, I'd say the Bucks wouldn't be far behind.
I'm not as excited about that, but I mean, that's just me personally. I think there's two reasons, if this is true, that Kenny has said this. Obviously, reason number one is just to give himself a little bit of leverage in his contract renegotiations with Tony, which a lot of the guys do. You know, you can't blame them for doing that. No. Reason number two is that there's actually some substance to it. And you've got to look at the fact that Cody in WWE, Jay White rumored on the way, obviously Finn's there, the Good Brothers are there. Kenny and the Bucks have got a lot of friends there now. And
yes, they do.
I would love to see Kenny Omega in WWE.
I would. I like just seeing Kenny wrestle. Like, I don't care where he wrestles. It's the people he gets to wrestle that interests me. And he's had all the great matches he can pretty much have in AEW at this point. He's wrestled everyone on the roster. This serious contender. You put him back in WWE's mix. That's so many fresh matchups. So many just tantalizing.
I've said for years it's a random one, but I've always wanted to see Kenny Omega against Dolph Ziggler. Hey, Andy, get well soon, bud.
Hey, dude.
Kenny against Dolph Ziggler. I don't know why. It's like a weird dream match that I've had for a long time. I just think they'd match up really well.
Yeah.
But the possibilities around this.
He would have to tone down his in-ring work considerably to fit into the format, and that's why they do there. I'd put this about 5% chance. Well, that's the thing. Kenny Omega had to tone down his ring work a considerable amount from New Japan to America. That's why a lot of people said, why don't we see New Japan Kenny on AEW television? It's because New Japan Kenny only exists in New Japan, where he is willing to put his body through that much stress because he has to, because that's the style of the company. AEW, as frenetic as AEW is as a promotion and is a lot more frenetic than WWE, he still toned down his style a considerable amount for AEW.
Yep.
Kenny's in his 40s now, Si. He's getting on. No, he's 40 this year, I believe.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he's nearly 40. Yeah.
So he's not a spring chicken anymore. And toning down his style wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing for him, would it?
No, not at all. If you can get at his age a guaranteed contract with a lighter schedule, taking less bumps, with more eyes on the prize, why not do it? You know, you've got friends there. You've already done pretty much everything there is to do in AEW. You've had the tag belts, you've had the trios belts, you've had the world title. Why not go?
Yeah, I would agree. What's Andy have to say here? I think Kenny completes the circle. He's accomplished a lot, so he needs to have the final piece. Yeah, I would agree. I call it the AJ Styles route to WWE, where you go everywhere else, you win everything, and then it's literally there's only the mountaintop left. And so it's a case of, do you want to leave that blank and just have a possibility over your career for the rest of it? Or do you want to go and see if you can make it on the bigger stage? And I know it's sacrilege to a lot of AEW fans, but WWE is still the biggest game in town. It's still the biggest stage for professional wrestling, for sports entertainment that exists. And if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. So I'd like to see if Kenny can really pull the trigger, because the one thing for me that's lacking in Kenny Omega is his character work. Like, in ring, he's one of the best in the world, but we've never really seen his character flourish, if you know what I mean. So
I think that's the best option. If that is your weakness, there's nowhere better to go to develop a character. I mean, I've said to you numerous times this past 3 or 4 years, I love Kenny Omega. I love his matches. I've watched him dozens of times in Japan. He is one of, if not the best in-ring guy in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But all of his, speeches that he used to do in Japan, they worked there. But when he went over to AEW, it didn't translate well. And I think he, along with a few other guys in AEW, it's okay to say, oh, some of the scripts were bad in WWE. Guys need to just be themselves more. But some guys benefit from direction. Other guys benefit from having a freelance. And I think character-wise, Kenny needs that bit of direction, and I think he'd benefit from it.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's back to the comments for a sec. Yeah, he'll be 40 in the fall, and if his contract is extended, he'll be 41 when it ends. Well, I believe his contract already has been extended due to injury, but the amount of time has not been disclosed.
No. And 41 isn't
standard procedure.
41 isn't necessarily old in wrestling these days. I mean, Edge was older than that, and he's just come back and done a 3-year shift.
AJ's the perfect example.
Yep.
And what's Andy got to say? Also, if he has one eye in his career, then WWE would open a lot more doors for after he retires. Yes, it does. It certainly would. Right, but moving on from Kenny Omega to a slightly different topic for today. In fact, you know what? Just because it's related and you brought him up, let's talk about Jay White.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now, it is official. It has been officially announced. Jay White is a free agent. No longer works for New Japan Pro Wrestling, not New Japan Strong, nowhere else. Jay has the ability to go anywhere he wants and to work under any canvas, and I think succeed. Personally, for me, I want to see him go to WWE. Honestly, because as much as I think he would do well in AEW in the short term, I believe that roster is so overblown that he would eventually just meander off into some faction and be left as like a side piece. If you had a choice for Jay Whiteside, where would you have him and where would you position him there?
If I was thinking about me personally, I've been through this before. I've never been a huge Jay White fan. There are people that, we just don't get. But for Jay White, again, I'm going to say the same as Kenny Omega. Greener pastures, guaranteed money, more eyes on the work that you create. I think with the other people, the other pawns, the pieces are in place. AJ's there, Finn's there, 4 former Bullet Club leaders. The story kind of writes itself for the niche fans that want to see that. And for those that haven't got a clue what any of that is, which is a large percentage of the WWE casuals, then they're going to be introduced to a new character that's probably going to blow the socks off.
Well, I have a booking theory for Jay White in WWE.
Ooh, share.
Right. So, we all know Austin Theory is going to be US champ going into WrestleMania.
Yep.
And we're all under the assumption, plus crossing our fingers, that he will do an open challenge a la John Cena at WrestleMania, which will be answered by John Cena.
Yeah.
John Cena will then beat Austin Theory for this championship. John Cena will then come out on Raw the following night and issue another open challenge, which will be answered by Jay White. Jay White then beats John Cena via shenanigans and the help of certain other Bullet Club affiliates, Jay White becomes US champion. The OC get themselves a belt. They get themselves a leader while AJ is not around, right, while he's still recovering from his ankle injury. And it positions Jay White exactly where I think he needs to be to start in WWE, which is at the top of the mid-card. Because as good as Jay is, as great as a champion as he was in New Japan, as fantastic as a worker and a talker that Jay White is, he has not done that to the mainstream audience for WWE. The mainstream WWE audience does not necessarily know who Jay White is, so you cannot instantly push him into the world title picture straight away because people will be like, oh, what are you doing? Who the hell's this guy?
And interestingly, what you're saying, I'm going to give you an on-the-spot pop quiz now, dude. I can only remember one man to ever debut in WWE and win the US title. Can you remember who it was? There may have been more since, but I can only remember one guy.
Mark Miro?
That's not cool.
Oh, Carlito.
Yeah.
Oh, of course he beat Cena for the US title. And then had John Cena stabbed in a nightclub, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And we are royalty. We are
great.
joined by royalty, Simon. There is a king in the house. Hello,
hey, King.
Jimmy. And yes, Jay White, WWE, baby. Couldn't agree more. Right, but anyway, that's enough about Jay.
Okay.
I just want to get a little bit over then. Right. On to a slightly more touchy subject for a lot of wrestling fans on today. Our dear old friend, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Now, WWE's higher-ups have sworn blind that Vince McMahon has no creative input into the workings of WWE.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
However, a match has recently been announced for WrestleMania, which has thrown a lot of people's decisions on Vince not being involved up in the air a little. Because we are getting... Now, I'm kind of looking forward to it because we're going to be there. So any chance to see Brock is fantastic.
It's a spectacle. Yeah,
exactly. It's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be a spectacle. It's going to be Andre Hogan. It's going to be building to a big move from Brock. That's my assumption. Either that or it's a bait and switch. And the Hurt Business is going to reform and beat the hell out of Brock Lesnar and send him packing one way or the other. But do you think there's a little bit of truth in the idea that Vince is the one booking this match, or at least is the one that has influxed the idea for this match to Triple H?
Yeah, I mean, okay, on one side of the argument, the past several months, I believe Nick Khan, Stephanie, Triple H have all gone on record saying that Vince is nowhere near creative and is never going to be again. Now, that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin, do you remember the night that Vince kind of left WWE, walked away from television?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Brock Lesnar supposedly walked out that night?
Yeah,
it was reported differently. We never really got the truth of the story. But if you believe the majority kind of assumption, Brock Lesnar walked away because Vince was gone. He wants to work for Vince. For whatever reason, maybe he doesn't respect Paul Levesque as much. So we're coming to WrestleMania. It could be Brock's last WrestleMania. Could I see feasibly Brock Lesnar going to Vince McMahon and saying, who do you think I should fight at WrestleMania?
Sure. Well, funnily enough, Jimmy's just up to say, a while ago it was reported that Brock had asked for Vince to book him. Right. So if that's a very big if, Vince is doing anything, at the very least, it's Brock that Vince has booked here.
Yeah.
Now, I could see that. And I also agree that, as you say, Brock Lesnar has a very father-son relationship with Vince McMahon, which he's talked about in the past. I would compare it similarly to the relationship he used to have with Brett before 97.
Okay.
In the sense of Brock has built a layer of trust up with Vince over the years. Since he was a very young man, Vince has always let him come and go as he pleased to do whatever other projects he wanted as long as he did the business true. And Brock always has done the business true. For me, I honestly don't care who's booking this match.
This is the thing. Right.
Because like what's David's put here? There we go. So what's worse, having Vince booking things or having Paul booking things and people thinking it's Vince?
I don't see either of those things as necessarily bad.
No.
You know, I know there's a lot of detractors for Vince. I know there's a lot of people that believe all the allegations. We're not going to go to
no, Simon. I believe every single allegation. Vince McMahon is not a nice human being. He never has been a nice human being. Allegedly. However, he's a very good wrestling promoter.
Me and you,
he has been for 40 years.
This is what gets me. Just because somebody does allegedly some bad things, it doesn't take away from their legacy. Their legacy shouldn't be just completely forgotten. Me and you would not be sit here talking now about wrestling if Vince McMahon hadn't done what he did.
No, exactly.
It's the sole reason the business boomed. Do I want to see him back booking full time? Hell no. Do I have an issue if he's influenced? No.
Honestly, my problem with Vince isn't the fact that he's still booking. It's the fact that he hadn't retired because he's in his 70s. My dad's in his 70s. He's retired.
I'm 45. I'm retired.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm 30. I'm retired. Different reasons, but there. But I don't know. For me, Vince leaving was one of the best things in the world because Triple H has got such a mind for this business.
Yeah.
But people are forgetting Triple H has been groomed by Vince McMahon for 2 decades. Of course, there are going to be little Vinceisms in Triple H's booking strategy because that's the man who taught him how to book. No, well, that and Pat Patterson.
The interesting thing about this for me, just before you move on, it isn't the who booked it, because to me that's just, it's superfluous. You know, it's not, it doesn't matter. But to me, the interesting thing is if the rumors about this being Brock's last match are true, then technically Brock or Brock with Vince in his ear have picked the opponent who's going to finish his career. And that it screams the amount of confidence that Brock and Vince have got in Omos.
Well,
because imagine Cody wins the belt. Imagine Omos beats Brock.
We're going to segue over onto Brock Lesnar for that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the rumor is that Brock was saying his goodbyes to people in WWE the other day.
Yeah.
He was making the rounds, letting people be known he was finishing up soon. Now, little thing happened in UFC last night, Simon.
John Jones.
John Jones not only returned after 3 years and tapped a guy out in 30 seconds, John Jones has moved up to heavyweight. And John Jones has publicly made it stated he wants to fight Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's rather convenient that the day after John Jones makes this announcement, Brock all of a sudden is saying his goodbyes in WWE.
Do you know an interesting fact? I've not kept up recently, but as far as I'm aware, in UFC, apart from Conor McGregor, the guy who's been their biggest draw, do you know who it is?
John Jones.
Brock Lesnar.
Really? So I always thought it was John. It
wouldn't surprise me if Brock could get upwards from $5 million for one fight there. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, no, I honestly, I think Brock's done all he can do right now in WWE.
Yeah.
He's basically ran every promotion. He's danced with the big dog for 9 months. That's done now. He's moving on to a spectacle show for Mania, which should be interesting because the main question that is hung over this Omos match is it a bait and switch? Or is it legitimately going to be Lesnar versus Omos?
I think it is.
And if it is going to be Lesnar versus Omos, like I said earlier, I think we're going to get a Hogan-Andre situation where the entire match is building to one big move.
Yep. Yep. I mean, seeing Omos take an F5, I know Brock did it to the Big Show back in the day, but he's a lot older now. And Omos is I don't know, probably up there weight wise.
Well, Omos has got to be at least 400 pounds.
Yeah, at least.
395, something like that.
He doesn't even need to jump up onto.
He is a big man.
Yeah, he doesn't even need to jump up onto Brock's shoulders. He can just step up on there.
Well, he can just lean. Effectively, and Brock
just
can
lean into it. Yeah,
just lean in, and Brock can just pick him up. It'd be great. Right, but moving on from Brock Lesnar leaving WWE, because something that I really want to talk about. Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor, my friend. Finally, it's back. A company that I have loved since 2004, as under the dubious leadership of Tony Khan, has returned. And you and I have you watched the first episode of the TV?
I have. Yeah,
I have as well. Good.
I didn't watch it until yesterday because there's been so much wrestling this week. But yeah,
I watched it the morning after, so neither of us watched it live. Little highlights for everybody that was there. Mark Briscoe opened the show. Nice emotional match against Slim J. Actually, it was a very good match. I think Slim J has the worst gimmick in professional wrestling. But in ring, he's pretty good. Like, he's basically gay Eminem.
The couple of dozen times I've seen him, I think that was maybe his best performance.
Yeah.
Whether that's down to him or Mark, I don't know. But for an opener, it was emotional. It felt right. It was a decent match.
Yeah. We'll run down a couple of other matches on the card. Of course, we had Claudio Castagnoli defending the Ring of Honor World Championship against AR Fox, of all people, which I was really happy to see.
Yep.
If you haven't had a chance, people watching this, and you weren't fans of Lucha Underground, you need to go and watch AR Fox, or was it not AR Fox? It was Dante Fox.
Dante Fox
versus Killshot in the Final War. I believe it was called
Mayhem of War. I forget, but there were glass panes.
You need to go watch this match, and you need to watch the following episode of Lucha Underground, because AR Fox not only goes through 3 panes of glass from like a 30-foot fall and rips his back to shreds. But Lucha Underground was a batched taped show, and he was in a tag match the following episode, and he came out and his back it was hideous. But that man, I'm so glad to see AR Fox in contendership for titles on a main brand television show.
You know what else was good about that? Because we've seen him in AEW, like he got the match with Swerve. We kind of knew that Swerve was going over.
Yeah.
But he's not had a lot to say. But then in Ring of Honor, he got some promo time straight off the bat.
Which was
that's
really
what
nice.
the extra TV time can do for you.
It was. Of course, we also had Tony Deppen challenging for his Ring of Honor TV title against Samoa Joe next week. Now, I love Tony. I think he's an absolute bastard and is brilliant at presenting himself as such.
However, cool is it? Reading his own promo off a piece of paper.
Had his own script. It was absolutely amazing, and I'm really looking forward to him versus Samoa Joe next week. We also had Willow Nightingale becoming #1 contender for the Ring of Honor Women's Championship for Athena for next week, which I'm also really looking forward to. That should be a fantastic match. And of course, the big moment of the night. If you don't know, people, Eddie Kingston quit AEW after Dynamite on Wednesday. And he quit AEW so he can become an independent contractor that is then allowed to go to Ring of Honor and beat up Claudio Castagnoli. I don't think he cares about the Ring of Honor Championship. I think he just wants to beat up Cesaro.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing I can think of in that. But just as an overall package, what did you think this week's Ring of Honor? Do you think they recaptured that old gritty feeling, or do you think that it felt more like AEW Light?
In parts. Okay, so we had Caprice Coleman, we had Ira Cabani on commentary. Presentation-wise, different camera angles were used. That's not a problem. It's the same arena at Universal Studios that they use for the dark taping and they used to use for Impact. Because of that, you do get a lot of casuals and a lot of kids. And I think some of that made it feel not quite Ring of Honor for me. But we don't tune in to watch the crowds. We tune in to watch the wrestling. They popped when they needed to pop. Most of the guys on the show have been in Ring of Honor previously. From the referees that we used to some of the matchups we had. I'm not going to say it's 100% faithful to the Ring of Honor that I loved. I was front row ringside for Ring of Honor Unified 15, 16 years ago. I've been a big Ring of Honor fan, and my worry is that we were going to get WWE ECW kind of version of Ring of Honor because Tony is juggling so many balls with the Jaguars, with Fulham FC, with AEW. He doesn't delegate.
And his analytics company.
Don't screw this up. But it was good. I don't think it was a groundbreaking show. It would have been good to have some kind of introduction. There was no intro package. It was just straight to the crowd.
It was straight to the crowd.
But then who would have introduced? I don't know.
But
I'll give it a solid 7 out of 10. Well, I'm looking forward to next week.
That's good. But one major thing to touch on from Ring of Honor was arguably the match of the night was done within 15 minutes, and it was
Blake and Zach.
Blake Christian versus Zack Sabre Jr. For the NJPW Television Championship. Now, I love the fact that New Japan was featured on this show. Ring of Honor always had such a strong relationship with New Japan in the past. It's really good that is still being featured for Ring of Honor. And Zack Sabre Jr. has a lot of ties to Ring of Honor. It's really good to see him. Great Christian, it was really good to see him get that showcase time in the spotlight because he has come on leaps and bounds, especially since he started he was in NXT, then he left, then he went to GCW, now he's in AEW, now he's also in Ring of Honor, he's moving around, it's good to see him on the up. But during this match, when Zack Sabre Jr. had caught Blake out of a cravat in midair.
Oh, that was great.
The Fosbury flop into the cravat was just beautiful. After he caught him in this, he started taunting Bryan Danielson, saying, "Who's the best wrestler in the world, dickhead?" And so on and so forth. Now, Si, you and I, and Andy, get well soon, are going to have the great pleasure of going to Supercard of Honor this year.
We are indeed.
Or Final. Is it Supercard of Honor or Final Battle? Supercard of Honor. Supercard of Honor.
We are going to Supercard of Honor. We're probably going to be very jet lagged. But the thought of now the card shaping up, if I can go into that, basically you're looking at Eddie Kingston against Claudio. You're looking at perhaps Samoa Joe against Mark Briscoe. Add to that Shibata against Wheeler Yuta. See Shibata live. And then on top of that, the icing on the cake, Danielson and Sabre. I loved the old school television title with the 15-minute time limits when Regal used to fight guys like Steamboat, Arn Anderson. Sabre's got that down to a T. If he can let that 15 minutes expire by gotching and transitioning from one rest hold and submission into another, then he'll do it. And it's exciting to see what him and Danielson can do with that 15-minute limit.
Well, Sabre for me is arguably, he's the best technical wrestler that's ever lived, in my humble opinion. Like I am, submission catch as catch can is my style of wrestling.
He may be.
I like watching big beefy boys slap beef, but when it comes to technical genius, there is nobody that touches Zack Sabre Jr. His ability to transition in the ring with timing and to know exactly where he is in a match without looking at a clock for 15 minutes every single time. He is the perfect wrestler to be the New Japan Television Champion.
It's unique nowadays, isn't it? Like, I can only think of maybe Thatcher that does it a little bit, Gunther occasionally, to transition from one submission to another every 5 or 6 seconds. Because if they're not going to tap out, you've got to up your game and just change your tactic a little bit. It's beautiful to watch. He's so fluid. It's Sabre and Danielson. Wow. And the fact there's a 15-minute time limit on this, it could set up a rematch for Forbidden Door 2 as well.
Yes, we could. David says he's very impressed with Ring of Honor's first episode. Good flow in the show. The update, it feels a lot like wrestling. It's great commentary, so it's a great addition to the weekly rotation shows. Yes, couldn't agree more, David. Couldn't agree more. And Jimmy is saying better technical wrestler than I was. Come on. Yes, Jimmy. Right? No, you know what?
No. Jimmy might have a point there.
That goes away. Not even dignifying that, Jim. All right, that's no. Zack Sabre Jr. is the best technical wrestler alive, and he's the best technical wrestler of the last 30 years.
He's the best there is. I'm not sure if he's the best there was, and the best.
But he's definitely the best there ever will be.
I'm still there. But yeah,
hello, great. Russ. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Russ.
Good to see you, mate. All right, but other than that, I'm going to leave the floor open for you now, Si.
Well, we have had quite an exciting week wrestling-wise. You know, I feel like despite perhaps the missteps and the confusion over Brock and Bobby doing what they're doing, the road to WrestleMania is really starting. The excitement is starting. I mean, we're like three and a little bit weeks away from going to LA, four weekends away from WrestleMania, Supercard of Honor, GCW, and business is picking up. There's been too much wrestling to watch. There's been too much wrestling to take it all in, and it's been so good. But what's your favorite match been this week? Because there's quite a few bangers to choose from.
Zack versus Blake.
It was really good.
That was just it. That was exactly what I want from a wrestling match.
Yeah. For me, the week started off great with Cody Rhodes and Chad Gable on Raw.
That was a phenomenal match.
Sports entertained the hell out of me. Going on to Zack and Blake, the main event with AR Fox and Claudio. There's been so many good matches this week. And it's the best time to be a wrestling fan for me, the month of March. And I just think we're living in a golden age. You know, it doesn't get any better than this.
I couldn't agree more. Like, everyone talks about when we're lucky, Si, because we're old. So we have seen the rise and fall of professional wrestling and its rise again from the boom, the golden age in the 80s to the death in the early to the mid 90s. To the second golden age in the Attitude Era and the NWO, and ECW, to the fall of ECW and WCW, the rise of WWE, the rise and fall of TNA. We have seen so many companies come and go, so many things, and the fact that professional wrestling is still here, it's still kicking. After every shot it's taken, after all the allegations about its owners, after the speaking out movement, after all of this stuff that did its damnedest to shut pro wrestling down, even freaking COVID tried to kill it, even though I'm sure we're not allowed to say that word on the YouTube, but we're not monetized anyway, so who cares? The fact that pro wrestling is still in the position it's in, that we are able to sit here on a weekly basis and have 30 to 1 hour's worth of content to talk about is just, it's phenomenal. But I do want to ask you a question, Simon.
Anything. But I'm not telling you what I'm getting you for your birthday.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Right. Okay.
We're going to just spitball on this because I had something I wanted to talk about. There is an angle going on in AEW at the moment, which is simultaneously really, really good and simultaneously makes no goddamn sense at all. Do you know what angle this is?
Is it the women's division?
Correct.
Makes no sense.
Now, minor rant. Toni Storm, my favorite ladies wrestler, as you know. Met Toni twice. Lovely girl. Seen her live 5 times. One of the best live performers I've ever seen in my life. Phenomenal worker. Went to WWE. Had her character assassinated. Was embarrassed on weekly TV. Got so pissed off and fed up with the place that she publicly walked out and said she'd never go back. And now I, as an educated wrestling fan, which, by the way, that's what the AEW fan base are. There are no casuals watching AEW. Otherwise, there'd be over 1.5 million fans watching it every week, and there aren't. It's just a hardcore audience. It's nerds like us. And nerds like us are expected to accept that Tony Storm, who has gone on a public tirade about how much she hated working in WWE, is now being presented as a WWE girl.
I mean, okay, so I get from Tony's point of view, if she wasn't happy for whatever reason, she wasn't happy. You know, some people go to work and they want to make money and they don't care if they're happy. Other people go to work and they want to be happy and they don't care if they make money. At the end of the day, it's an individual choice, isn't it? And for whatever reason, after the angle with the cake on the face with Charlotte, which was cringe, let's be honest, she ends up going to AEW. And then to be in that position where you are presented as what you didn't want to be, and then to have your ass spray painted in the middle of a show, I mean, I hate comparing the two, dude, but it wasn't much of an improvement, was it? The whole angle makes no sense.
None.
The whole angle, and I'm still calling it now. You've got the outsiders. I think after the match, when Jamie retains, I think Britt turns and they all beat the crap out of Ruby.
Oh, she's the third man.
Britt is the Hogan. Yeah.
Britt's the third man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be fine with this. But there's one little thing that goes against that. Rebel. Rebel has been moved off television. The reason Rebel is no longer an active TV character and part of the Jamie Hayter Britt Baker package is because they have been repackaged as baby faces, and Tony Khan doesn't think that Rebel fits with their new babyface characters.
Hang on, I don't want to start speculation here, but there are a lot of AEW contracts up this next few months.
Yes, there are.
Because a lot of people were signed for 4-year deals, which are now expiring. Tony does have a habit of quietly letting contracts expire rather than announcing that, you know, these people have left the company, best of luck in all your future endeavors or whatever. Sometimes we don't find out until weeks, months later. So it's possible that that's happening with Rebel. Jade needs to be the Hogan. I like that.
So do I, especially considering you don't get more homegrown than Jade in AEW.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. If anything, a Jade face turn to go up against this group, but it just doesn't make sense.
Well, if you have Jade as the third man, then Britt can go after the TBS title and become the first Grand Slam winner in the women's division. Which I'm assuming is the plan for Britt Baker, by the way. My assumption has been that she's going to be the one to beat Jade Cargill when Jade reaches like 100 wins or whatever it is, because they'll want Britt is Tony's girl, and he's going to want her to be the first Grand Slam winner, winning the Owen Hart, the AEW women's title, and the TBS title.
Honestly, if I had to pick anybody to beat Jade at this point, I'd still put my money on Mercedes. I think sooner or later, that's the way it's going to go.
Okay, that works. But back to WWE.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about the beginning of SmackDown.
Oh, that promo was so good.
Now,
good.
If you haven't watched SmackDown this week, folks, just go watch the opening 15 minutes and the closing 15 minutes. The rest of the show is hot garbage.
Whoa. Sorry to cut you off, Nick, but the middle of the show featured matches by Tegan Knox, my personal favorite female wrestler.
No. It featured Tegan Knox getting squashed in 45 seconds.
Okay, so what was wrong with Dom's match? That was the match of the night on SmackDown.
Are you sure you want me to say this?
Just go back to what you were saying.
All right. No, I'm gonna cover this now. Nepotism is the only reason Dominic Mysterio is on the main roster. If it wasn't for his father having it written into his contract that Dominic had to appear on the main roster alongside him, then Dom would be in NXT where he belongs. The boy has no timing. His character work has come on leaps and bounds. Credit where credit is due. His character work has come on leaps and bounds. The whole condom thing is hilarious. But Santos Escobar couldn't make him look good. That's King Cuerno.
Match.
No, it wasn't a fantastic match.
Dude,
It wasn't a fantastic match. It was a match that existed to get Rhea over.
I'm constantly talking about Dominic on Twitter. You know, it's possible that he's aware of this conversation we're having. And I'm telling you, mate,
fine.
We're going to LA. Dom's going to shank you for disrespecting him. He has come on leaps and bounds character-wise. Yeah, okay, maybe I enjoyed the middle part of SmackDown because I'm a stan for those two particular wrestlers. Carry on with what you were saying.
Okay. What's the opening 15 minutes? What's the ending 15 minutes? Because that was where the storyline was progressed at both ends of the show.
Yeah.
But going back to the opening of SmackDown. SmackDown started with Roman Reigns coming down to the ring and saying, "Acknowledge me." And then wrestling has more than one royal family. Cody's music hits. Cody comes down to the ring. And Cody cuts one hell of a promo. Talking about how Roman Reigns to everyone else is an impossibility. He's the mountain to climb. But that's kind of what I do. Right? Even got a little all-in reference for everybody saying nobody thought the 10,000 people would come and see a little indie show of me and my buddies, but they were wrong. And then Roman comes back with arguably the greatest promo Roman Reigns has ever done, because the amount of respect in his voice when he was talking about Dusty was legit. You knew every single word that came out of Roman's mouth was true. Dream had said this to him, right? He talked to him in the past. You got it, baby. I don't know what it is, but you got it. You can't get rid of it. You'll never stop it. You have it. All right? That is a Dusty Rhodes saying. That wasn't Roman making shit up on the spot. I had a tear in my eye during this promo. Cody was overacted a little bit, but that's what I like about Cody because he always does.
Yeah.
What did
Cody's
you think?
Like, why use a tiny word when a minuscule one will do?
Exactly.
But yeah, no. Cody going into this is basically thinking that Heyman is making up what he's saying about Roman and his dad. Mm-hmm. And then he realizes mid-promo that Roman's telling him straight.
It's all true.
And it's like a double whammy to Cody. Mm-hmm. And the emotion, and as personal as this feud has got. I mean, it's only like 2 weeks ago we were saying, where's the build for Cody and Roman?
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I said 5 weeks is more than enough time.
Yeah. 3 weeks left. We have 3 weeks left. And it's already like edge of your seat, gripping sports entertainment.
Gripping. Cody is now desperate to beat him. It's become a necessity in his own words. It's no longer a challenge. It's no longer a need. It's a necessity. I have to beat you.
Where are you at the minute with this match? Because I've gone back and forth. You know, are you Cody Rhodes is going to end the 900 plus day reign of Roman Reigns? Or are you Roman retains and Cody is in danger of becoming the next Lex Luger?
No, Cody's winning. Now, I'm a mark. I'm a mark. You know I am. But I know for a fact Roman wants to take some time off. Can't take time off when you're champion. Now, I know...
Well, he did it last summer.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Got a lot of grief for it, but yeah.
Exactly. Vince McMahon is no longer booking the show. If Vince McMahon was booking the show, Roman would already have beaten Cody before WrestleMania, and then he'd be fighting Brock again. Right? Because that's what Vince likes to do, because Vince thinks Brock and Roman are the two biggest stars, so that equals the most marquee match, so that's what we put on every WrestleMania. I am 89.999% convinced Cody is winning the titles. But I am also... Did you notice what Roman did when he put the belts on the floor?
He's like, you're going to hate this. And then he laid one down.
He didn't lay one down.
And he's like, you see this?
He threw the WWE title, the WWE title, on the mat. And then he laid the Universal title down. Because to Roman, the Universal title is the belt that matters. The other one Just the other, there it is, because that's the one he had before he beat Brock. The Universal title is Roman's reign, not the WWE Championship. Roman could lose the WWE Championship, and his reign would still be intact.
True, but I think you are possibly in danger of reading a little bit too much into this. I think the whole world title went down first, so he could say, "You've never won that," and then the Universal title went down second to put a caveat on the point and to say, "You've never even fought for that or challenged for that," whatever words he used. And I think that was the reason it was maybe slightly different. But yeah, it's hard to call.
It's true. Sorry, I have to get close to read these comments.
If Jimmy is just saying that Dom is as good as Cody, then yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Bit of a stretch, but I still think by the end of the year, I know we've
Agreed, David.
Gunther's. I know we've got Gunther's record-breaking reign potentially, but I still think that Dominic will be the next big heel to hold either the IC or US belt before the end of this year.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. All right, but I think, Si, we're just about I think we've covered everything.
I can't think of anything else that we had to talk about.
No. Have you got anything that you want to plug?
This week, we haven't got any specials coming up this week, have we?
No.
Last thing to say is looking forward to watching Revolution with you on Tuesday. Not going to get a chance before, but yeah, that's going to be a good show.
To everyone on the internet that goes on my Twitter, no spoilers. I want to know a damn thing.
I'll be staying off Twitter most of tomorrow.
It needs to be done. Right, but ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy what we do here at Wrestling Legion, please join the Legion. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, do everything you can. It really helps us out, and it's the only way the YouTube algorithm knows we exist. It's been my pleasure to be here. I've been Nick the Geek.
And I've been Si. Yeah. Wrestling
Legion.
See
you next week.
We make it make sense.